hello and welcome.
Thank you.
This is our pandemic conversations, something like that. It's just an idea I had. And Geoff, it's great to see you.
Well, it's good to see you in a manner of speaking.
That's right. So Geoff, you just returned from sabbatical, and you chose a good time to take it, didn't you?
It wasn't the best of times. I think it's my fourth sabbatical, and it's been the most unusual, let's put it that way. I mean, it started off, the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was doing quite a lot of stuff in relation to the presidency.
Yeah.
And then I visited some friends in Paris who were serving with BMS World Mission. That was lovely. I think it was for 4 days. Then I came back and I wasn't very well. I caught a rather vicious virus that sort of wiped me out for a couple of weeks, and then it took a bit of time to get over that. And then there was the lockdown. So all of my plans for the rest of the sabbatical were put on hold. I was in touch with a friend of mine, and he said, you know, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And that was certainly the case, because the rest of the sabbatical, I had to improvise really as to what I did. I was due to go for an 8-day individually guided retreat at St. Binos. I've not been to St. Binos before. I've been to similar places, but not St. Binos. And St. Binos apparently is really beautiful. I've seen the photos. I'm on the St. Binos sort of Facebook page, and it looks a really lovely place.
Yeah, it is.
And so I couldn't go, but I did an 8-day individually guided retreat on FaceTime, which was different, but worked really well.
And somewhere in the midst of that, you heard that you were going to be the next president.
I did. I have to say, it came as a bit of a shock, but anyway, no, it was a lovely shock. It was really good. Yes.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel really positive. The theme that I'm pursuing, which is being attentive to rhythms of grace, I don't think that will. I think that will be particularly relevant for this time next year when I become president. Yeah. So I mean, it's relevant at all times, but especially I think. At this time in this season in which we find ourselves.
So we're in the middle of something that we've not faced in our lifetime, and I don't know about you, but I'm finding it. People keep using the word. It's strange. How are you finding it?
Well, it is strange. It's strange, and you know, I'm seeing a lot of the television. There was a brilliant documentary by the wife of one of our, not one of our ministers in the Central Baptist Association, but one of our Baptist ministers, a pioneer minister, Simon Hall. Anna Hall. This is her line of work. She creates wonderful documentaries. Normally she takes about a year to make one. This documentary she made over a weekend. And I think the title of it is A Day in the Life of Coronavirus Britain. And it was, you know, it really brought the enormity of this situation home. And of course, you see that on the news every evening. And yeah, I'm living in a nice house with a lovely garden. We can get most of the food that we want, the food stuff that we can't get, well, I mean, really, we can live without. I mean, for us, it's about family that we're not seeing. Our son, who lives in America, in Charlottesville, he is on sabbatical and was spending it at Oxford as a visiting professor. And so he arrived in December, and this was going to be a great sort of 6 months when we'd see him and Naomi and our granddaughters, and of course we haven't seen them since the middle of March. So that's the sort of, I guess that's the pinch point for us. But if you compare it to very many people, before you even think about what the situation is like and is going to be like in our 2/3 world, you know, so there is that sort of sense of, you know, privilege and I guess, you know, those sort of, well, you know, we're not finding it too bad at the moment. I went out to the shops this morning at sort of 10 to 7. And yeah, it's weird.
Very weird.
It's very weird, but you know, I'm able to go and get what we need. So yeah, we've got mums who are in their 90s. I think they're finding it difficult. But there are, you know, different people are experiencing it in different ways.
What have you, it's early days, but what have you picked up from the churches?
Well, I think there's an enormous amount of creativity going on. Some people are responding to this really well. I mean, you know, they're in their element, and there are plenty of services that are going on a Sunday. I mean, of course, we've just had Easter, and so Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday itself. And some ministers are doing a daily prayer, which is encouraging. I think other ministers, you know, their strengths lie in different areas, and so they're not doing that sort of thing. But you know, generally, there's a good response. So that's encouraging. On the whole, I would say that is encouraging. I guess my sort of slight concern is that as Baptists, we naturally go into activism. So we find ourselves in a situation like this, and you know, we do, because that's what we do. And I guess my slight concern is that we'll burn out, that we'll in these initial days, because we are still in the sort of response phase of this, that we'll be so busy that we won't be able to sustain it for the long haul. I'm really appreciative of the author Eugene Peterson, who's written that translation of the Bible called The Message, and one of his books has the title "A Long Obedience in the Same Direction." And my sense is that's really what is being called for, because this isn't going to be over in the next 3 weeks or the next 3 weeks after that. And yesterday we heard on the news from Professor Chris Whitty that this could well go on till Christmas, which feels scary, and therefore we need to be in it for the long haul. So, you know, a long obedience in the same direction seems to be appropriate. I think it's Eugene Peterson. You know, throughout his writings, he talks about sort of a rule of stability. You know, it's this, you know, just keeping on, and being faithful.
So, talking of which, what is keeping you going? What have you got any ideas or things we could learn from the way that you're handling it?
I think this sort of thing is quite personality dependent.
Yeah.
Because we all respond in different ways. So, I mean, just before I answer your question, I was speaking to someone yesterday, you know, who's a clear extrovert, and you know, they're finding it a very different experience to me. I'm more towards the sort of introverted end. I mean, I'm not right at that end, but that's where my sort of bias is. So, but for this person, they're finding it very, very difficult. And I think in relation to our personalities, we find different ways of, even in ordinary times, of being nourished. And for me, over the years, one of the ways that has nourished me is having a rhythm of prayer. And that really does come into its own in this sort of situation, because a rhythm of prayer actually finds its origin in the monastic tradition. And of course, there's something about the monastic tradition which is all of a sudden becoming quite relevant to us, because we're turning to these people who know all about self-distancing and self-isolation, even in extreme situations.
Yeah.
So a rhythm of prayer works for me very well. And you know, I was involved in establishing the Order of Baptist ministry, and you know, we have a daily prayer and a midday prayer and an evening prayer. So without sort of following it slavishly, I think that provides a structure. It also, interestingly, it provides a structure to the day, because I think one of the challenges of this particular season is that every day can seem the same. And within the day, you can get to the end of the day and think, well, where did that day go to? So, you know, to have that kind of structure within it, that works well. You know, I read and reflect. I keep in touch with friends. You know, I find it I would find it very difficult if I didn't have a phone and you know, email and Zoom and FaceTime and all that sort of thing. So those sort of things sustain, you know, quite ordinary things. I'm also enjoying cooking as well and baking.
Of course.
So, you know, that's good. The big challenge with baking is there's no flour, so I buy in bulk in ordinary time. So I've got a bit to go, but there you go.
So what have you cooked recently that we should? What recipe should we hear about?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to do something this evening that I did last week, which is it's an Italian dish called peperonata, which is essentially you cook lots of red pepper, do a bit of onion, you know, cook that gently, and then you add about I think it's 6 red peppers, and then after a while you add a tin of tomatoes, a little bit, splash of red wine vinegar, and you do it for about 40 minutes, and it goes down to a lovely mush. So we're not going to eat it in one go, but you can have it on pasta, and you can eat it with, you know, pork chop or something like that. So that's good.
Yeah. What would be your prayer?
Well, I was speaking to my brother-in-law the other day, who is I've got the title wrong now because they don't call them non-stipendiary priests in the Church of England. There's another title for it. And I'm told what this title is repeatedly, and I still fail to remember it. But my brother-in-law John, he's doing more at the moment. He's at that sort of stage in life where he's got, you know, a bit more time, and they're in a pastoral vacancy, a big church in Harrogate, and they're in a pastoral vacancy, and so. He's more involved, and he introduced himself in a short video. And at the end of the video, he prayed a prayer. He did something with a cuddly toy. You know, it was lovely. But then at the end of it, he did this prayer. And the thing that really struck me was that when I was talking to him about this, he said, "You know, I sent that link out to a number of friends of mine who, you know, aren't church people, don't profess to have faith, just to give them a bit of an update of what I was doing." He said, "I was really surprised how many people got back and said, I really appreciated that prayer at the end." And it's a prayer that I think the Northumbria community uses in their midday office. It's an ancient prayer. It's by Teresa of Avila. And this is how the prayer goes. But I can't tell you how the prayer goes because I've left it on a card in the other room. Can I just go and get it? Is that all right?
Yeah, you go get it.
Just one moment, I've got it out. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So this is the prayer of Teresa of Avila, and it uses ancient language, but beautiful language. "Let nothing disturb thee, nothing affright thee. All things are passing. God never changeth. Patient endurance attaineth to all things. Who God possesseth, in nothing is wanting. Alone God sufficeth."
That's lovely. One last thing. On a lighter note, any good television you're watching?
Well, you know, we are West Wing addicts, I suppose you'd say, because we've seen the whole series, and there are we've seen the whole lot. There are seven series, so we've seen the whole lot 7 times. So we started it again, and we're loving it as much, if not more, than ever before. So it's beautiful. I think what we like about it is at the end of most of the episodes, it's sort of, there's a sense of closure so that you can go to bed without being sort of, you know, really. But it's full of grace. It's chock full of grace, and it's a good storyline, wonderful characters. It's what you wish politics would be like. It's a bit naive in that sense, but it's lovely, and as I say, it is so full of grace. So we're really enjoying that. That's good. And I started on another Donna Leon detective story. It's a whole series of those set in Venice, so it's a taste of Italy, with lots of mention of food, and that's great as well. so yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. We started rewatching The Vicar of Dibley.
Right, yeah.
Which is just lovely. At the end of a long, at the end of, it can all get very heavy and serious, can't it? And it's just lovely to have a bit of lightness. Yeah.
Well, we like rom-coms as well. I'm unashamed about that. I like a good rom-com.
Oh,
so.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. What a pair we are, Colin.
And on that note, we'll say goodbye.
On that note, we'll say goodbye. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Great. Bye-bye.